Hello everybody, it's Steph Davis here from flipthiswholesaler.net. I am here today with my good friend Steve Cavanaugh. We are in Palm Beach Gardens.
Yes.
Palm Beach Gardens. I've been here visiting Steve and his family, who I don't know if you can see them back at the pool over there. They're hanging out at the pool, but Steve has been down in Palm Beach with his family since January 1st. He set a goal about 3-ish years ago to basically become a snowbird. So come down from southern Maryland to Florida from January until the end of April, and he has since made that a reality. So I've been down here hanging out. We kind of decided this is kind of an off-the-cuff, last-minute interview talk that we decided to do. So we're just going to kind of...
we're going to riff.
Yes, we're going to
riff.
We're going to riff. So first of all, welcome, Steve.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for having me down here.
Absolutely.
He's got a pretty sweet pad here in Palm Beach Gardens.
As you can see in the background right here, that's my house.
Yeah.
Just kidding, that's just the clubhouse.
We're at the pool, it's awesome.
Yeah.
We were planning on going paddleboarding, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
Might be a little windy for that
today,
it's
kind of windy
as you can hear.
Now, okay, so just to give everyone a little bit of kind of background about you. You run a full-time rehabbing business.
Full-time rehabbing, although you'll like this, I've wholesaled a property a month since I've been down here.
Seriously?
That's seriously.
Your properties or
I've
your
wholesaled
students'
4
properties?
I've been down here January, February, March, April, and I have wholesaled 4 properties.
What's the total profit on those? Just
I think each one were around 10 grand.
Wow.
Yeah.
So 40
grand in wholesale deals in 4 months.
And those are your deals or
those
your
are my
students'
deals. Those are my deals. Yeah.
And where did those come from?
Actually, 3 of them were HUDs, and one of them was on MLS. Yep.
Really?
Absolutely, yeah.
Huh. See, now I've been, in my area at least, is it really extremely competitive on the MLS where you're at, or no?
It is, I wouldn't say extremely competitive, but it most definitely is competitive, yeah.
But so okay, and we're kind of going off on a tangent, but that's
great.
okay.
Let's do this.
So HUDs and MLS, are you just constantly making offers on them?
Actually, you're going to like this too. I did not make offers on any of them. I should say, let me stop. I didn't make an offer on the HUDs that we got. My assistant did all of that for me.
She just went on there on her own?
She went on there on her own and made the offers on my behalf, and we got them.
But you told her how much to offer, or she just
she figured it out on her own.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's really awesome.
Cool.
So
Okay.
obviously she gets a nice bonus on each of those that she does for me. Yep.
All right. So then I guess we'll just segue since you're talking about your assistant. So you have a full-time rehabbing business, a coaching business. You have how many students? 20?
I've got 23 students right now.
23 coaching students.
Yep.
Okay. So full-time rehabbing, coaching. You've done 4 wholesale deals and run a rehab.
This year.
Right? This year.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
And then I run the Southern Maryland Real Estate Investors Group. And I should mention, I also do like nationwide consulting, and I also do consulting in my office. So if folks want to come spend the day with me, we have a program for that. And then if folks live in different parts of the country and they want to spend a few hours on the phone with me, helping me kind of deconstruct their current operations or what they're doing. And what I do really is I deconstruct everything about them and everything about what they're doing, and I take all those pieces and I kind of get a picture of what their market's like, and then I help them kind of assemble it, put it all back together so it's a more refined and efficient operation. And I've actually got a guy coming into my office to do that when I get back into Maryland. He was actually going to fly down here, and he was very close, he and his partner, to coming down here. Yeah, I was like, well, come down here, we'll spend the day together, I'll buy you lunch, I'll buy you dinner, we'll sit around, we'll talk about your business, we're going to take everything apart, we're going to put all those pieces back together. And he and his partner couldn't get on the same page on when to come down. But I was going to actually take him up to the beach where we were yesterday, at that park, and we were going to sit up there and just basically go over all of this stuff.
So you're going to do that when you get back?
We're going to do that when we get back, being in Southern Maryland. So we'll probably go eat some crabs or something like that as opposed to, sitting up at the beach. But yeah.
I did not know you
Isn't
did
that cool?
consulting.
Yeah, I do that. I've helped folks out in California before. I've actually helped folks down here in Florida before. Cool.
Okay, so I think like 3 tangents ago, I was going to bring us back to the fact that you're here, you're in Florida, you've been here for the last 4 months, you have a very profitable and high volume rehabbing business, you've got coaching, you have the RIA, you do the
hard
consulting,
money lending,
hard money lending, a lot of things going on, and you've gone back to home once per month, right?
Once per month for 2 or 3 days.
So probably people are thinking, how in the world, and I know when you first came up with this and you presented it to our mastermind group, and just thinking, how am I going to be able to do this? How am I going to be able to run my businesses being in Florida? How have you been able, I mean, kind of in a nutshell, what systems do you have in place, or what team members do you have in place that allow you to be able to sit here and hang out at the pool? And not that you do this all day. I know you work a couple hours a day.
Yeah.
But what do you have set up that you're able to do?
Well, essentially I've got 3 different components to my operations. I've got an awesome assistant who runs all my businesses, and at an executive level. She's young, but she is fully capable of executing each and every aspect of my business. Yeah, sure.
Because I'll forget. How did you go about selecting finding or qualifying your assistant?
How did I hire her, basically?
Yeah, or how did you know that she was the right one?
Well, first and foremost, I got her as a referral from one of my other trusted team members, one of my main real estate agents, who I trust and have worked with for many years. And so, whenever you get a referral to work with somebody else, that's the absolute best way to go. Secondarily, I had placed advertisements out. I had interviewed multiple people, and none of them were as good as her. So, when she interviewed, and I knew that I would be able to work with her, because it's tricky out there, especially for that type of job. You have a lot of applicants, but you have a lot of applicants that are qualified to do other things and not necessarily that type of work. So, I had one guy who his passion was football. So obviously, when you have candidates like that and stuff like that, they might not be a good fit. So anyway, that's how I selected her. What was I saying?
Okay, so you have your team member. So you have your assistant, and what is she doing right now? She's handling all. You said she's really stepped up.
Right now she has a day off.
Okay. Since you've been in Florida, you said she's really stepped up and taken over a lot of.
Yeah, she has really stepped up. She has, like I said, has been making offers on my behalf. She handles all my legal documents. She handles my interfacing, oftentimes with the real estate agents, with the title companies. She helps me with all matters relating to the students. She helps me with sometimes materials, contractors on jobs. Sometimes she'll run out and take pictures of a property for me if I need. By the way, she's an awesome photographer. Thanks, Emily. You're awesome. She is an awesome photographer. She takes beautiful pictures. You love that about her. So she does all of our listing pictures and all that stuff. She optimizes them in iPhoto and HD Artist and makes them pop, So, yeah.
All right, so you've got the assistant.
Executive level. Mm-hmm.
And then what else? Like your rehab. So you're running a rehab business. Yeah. You've got rehabs going on. Who is managing all of that, or how is that?
Well, for the most part, none of that's really changed. I continue to use the same contractors that I've used for a long time, and they typically will general contract about 80% of the rehab. I'll sub out the other 20%, but the 20% guys that I bring in, I know I've worked with for many years, and I know my generals, and I've worked with them for many years. And I'm not one of these guys who breaks out the counter and schedules all the subs in where I'm the GC. To me, it's worth paying a GC a little bit more money and then stepping out of the process entirely. And again, it's a matter of, do you want to build wealth or be free, what Steve Cook always says. And for me, it's just a matter of, I'd rather be free and make a good buck as opposed to make every single buck and have to work the entire time doing it, So I leverage other people in that case,
All right, so I'm kind of skipping onto a different topic. So I've had the pleasure of hanging out, and you guys actually, Steve and his family came to the St. Pete area. What has it been, like a month
ago or something? Yeah.
Had the pleasure of meeting your wife and your 2 young children. So I know a lot of people, when you tell people, I'm going to Florida for 4 months and I'm bringing my family along, the first thing I would assume that people who have young kids, or maybe not even young kids,
right.
Kids in school, basically, their first question would probably be, well, what about the school? How does that work? So how have you managed to, what have you done in respect to the school?
Well, that is people's first question.
Yeah?
Yeah, all the time. Say, oh, Steve, I'd really like to do that, but what are you doing about the kids, So we homeschool the kids, and It's worked out pretty well. If you want details, you've got to ask my wife.
Okay.
But that's the short
Call
answer.
over here.
Yeah, that's the short answer. It hasn't been, it hasn't been weird or anything like that. A lot of people think like homeschooling kids are like a lack socialization and that that they're these kooky kids who are never going to be able to play with other kids and all that stuff's kind of BS. It's not really true. We found out, and I think if you're a kooky person, you're going to be kooky whether you're homeschooled or not. But that being said, when we do go back to Maryland, they will go back into public schools. We're going to go from there.
And Kaylin is dying to get back.
She's
friends,
dying
right?
to get. My daughter's dying to get back. She's got friends that she wants to see, and that is, that's why she wants to go back. But honestly, for me, I think for her the structure is much better.
Yeah.
For Finn, that's my son. He's preschool age, so it doesn't really matter to him right now.
He's just having fun.
He's just having fun, no matter where he's at. So.
All right. So, as far as I know, one of your fears, and I assume anyone who is going to basically leave, where their business is, and go to a couple states over, your fear was that am I going to be able to pull this off?
Right.
Have you been able to pull it off being in Florida? Is your business doing okay? Is it any hiccups or have things gone smoothly for you? I guess.
Yeah, I think in the first quarter of this year, essentially I did just as well as I did for the entire year last year, or very close to it,
Being in Florida.
Being in Florida,
That's crazy.
yeah. Now, I always say that, success today was based on what you did yesterday,
Right.
So the true test will be like third quarter of this year, But I think enough things are in place, and my focus actually, we'll go off on a tangent here for a second. My focus actually now with investing has shifted less to just going kind of after the next house to more to how can I go ahead and set these investments up so that they're passive into the future, into perpetuity. I want to continue. So I'm now starting to think more like a long-term investor as opposed to a short-term opportunist type of investor. I don't know if that's maturing or not or what. Yeah, my plans, I'll be honest with you, my plans right now are to have around $1 million in rental property, and then around $1 million in loan money that I'm lending out, and then the loans will be anywhere from 12 to 18% type of return on those, and then the rental portfolio is going to be anywhere from like 15 to 25% return on that. So essentially you have $2 million, somewhere in the 15 to 20% return on that is my goal, and then I will have, then that will support the cash flow, and then we can kind of do whatever. I'm looking at over the next 3 years trying to kind of set that up. I would say I'm about halfway on both of those right now.
And
so
you're how old again?
38 years old.
38 years old.
So I think I can do that. I'm sure I can do it in 3 years.
I have no doubt that you will do that, Steve.
In 3 years. I'm hoping I can do it in less than that, but we'll have to see, how everything goes, Lord willing, and all that. But I'm, that's my current kind of focus. I think that's the direction that I want to go right now. Obviously, I remain coaching. I absolutely love helping people. I love helping people not only with the real estate, but really to kind of help them with real estate to change their lives in some way, and to see that real estate can change their lives in some way. Every now and again, I'll get a student who can't see that, and I just get real frustrated with them, because really for me, it's all about having that light bulb go off, that moment happen. I'll give you a great example. I've got this awesome student. Her name's Eliza Briscoe. You've probably seen the video of her, right?
The video is awesome.
She has been with me now for a couple of years. She did 3 deals, with me, and we do a profit split on the deals that we do together. She just quit her job after she did her third deal. She just made 50 grand on her last deal with me. Excuse me, and she quit her job.
What was she doing before?
She was doing marketing services for a marketing company where they would do all manner of phone calls, hard selling people, walking out to neighborhoods and placing door hangers on. Just hardcore brass knuckles marketing type stuff. And she actually, this is great. This is much like how I quit my job back when I quit my job. She had an annual review with a supervisor. Supervisor came in and was like, okay, you're doing a good enough job, but I need you to now step it up. So instead of doing all, these numbers, now you have to hit this goal, and you have to do, And so basically, although it was kind of presented in a very nice way, she was told you need to do a whole heck of a lot more, otherwise your ass is out of here, So, so she said in that meeting, she pretended like she was taking notes, but she was really writing down a list of everything she needed to do before she placed her 2 weeks notice. Yeah, totally.
That is awesome.
Totally. So she said she just, at that point, kind of tuned her out at that point and was just like, okay. And she was like, I can't wait to call Steve. So sure enough, she left that meeting and she called me up and was like, Steve, I'm quitting my job. And I just said, congratulations.
That is so awesome.
And so not only did she do her 3 deals with me, she's also now bought a rental property. It's a great cash flow rental property for her, and she's in the process of buying her another one right now. So, yeah.
So cool.
Yep.
So you just alluded a little bit to your job. You said the job that you had. What just people are probably wondering, what was you did 4 years of college, and then did you have a 9-to-5 job, or what? How did you decide that I'm going to go off and be an entrepreneur and go into business for myself?
Out of college, I was a liberal arts major, majored in communication arts and music, and I was just having a good time. And anyway, I knew somebody who knew somebody. I got out of college. I took the first job that was presented to me. I think I was making like $36,000 a year. And I was a government contractor doing IT work at one of the local Navy bases, like pretty much everybody else in the area ends up doing. And it just kind of wasn't for me. I mean, first of all, I had to commute 1 hour each way. Anybody that's ever commuted knows that really sucks badly. You'll have to forgive us, folks. We're sitting at the tiki bar up here by the pool, and it's a little loud.
Over you.
So anyway, it was like a 1 hour commute each way. It really sucked. And it was much like an hour each way. So 2 hours of my life every single day was on the road, And look, there's folks out there. My supervisor had a 1 hour, 45-minute commute each and every way, every single day. Needless to say, he's divorced now. You can't have a family life doing that kind of stuff long term, So anyway, I was doing the IT stuff. I just kind of hated it. Very, very, very long story short. And if you want like the long story version, you can go to snowbirdflipper.com, and I've got videos where I kind of really tell people about my entire struggle. Yeah, snowbirdflipper.com. But it's out there. You like that?
Yeah. It's catchy.
So there's videos of me out there talking about this stuff, maybe on YouTube or something. So I told the real long story, but the bottom line is, I knew that I was going to have to take control of my income if I was going to take control of my life. And I realized very early on, thankfully, that if your finances are in good order and you make enough money, you can essentially buy yourself freedom. And while that may seem wrong to some of you, right, that is the way it is. We live in a capitalist country, and if you don't like it, you're free to move somewhere else. But that's how the game is played here. So I realized that very early on. So,
like early on, what, like 24?
So I was 20. Was I 20? I want to say I was 26 when I left that job. Maybe I was 24. I can't remember.
And you found Steve Cook? Is that how did you say you met him at a RIA meeting?
Well, no, I didn't meet him at a RIA meeting. I actually, when I was working for that IT company, researching all these opportunities, one of the websites that I came across was real estate investing and flippinghomes.com.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Which is how Steve and I met each other.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. Through the community there, flippinghomes.com. So, yeah, that's how I found out about Steve Cook. And then, really, I didn't have the money. People always say, well, I don't have the money to put into coaching. I don't have the money to put into education. If you don't have the money to put into education, then you're not going to learn anything.
You have to find it. I remember when Steve approached me about being in the Flip Tips, which is the mastermind group that we have been in, and that was a lot of money to me, which I could not afford. It was my second biggest bill that I had, but I just said,
you got to do it.
Yeah, you got to do it. Yeah, it's just too important not to.
Have you heard of 10-10-80 before? The concept of 10-10-80? Okay, so the concept of 10-10-80 says you have 100% of your income every month, right? 10% right off the top should be a tithe.
Right.
10% right off the top should go into savings. 80% right off the top should be your living money that you live on every month. So one of our friends, Doug Ottersberg, has a different take on it.
What is his?
It's 10-10-10-70.
What's
So
the other
10%. What's the other 10? Okay. So the other 10 is into education. So you should set aside 10% of your monthly income to put into mentorship, coaching, going to seminars, books, tapes, CDs, downloads, anything like that that's going to further your education. And I mean, I just find that even with the high level people that we run with, I mean, a lot of the folks in our mastermind are highly successful, but you got just that top 10% that just read an extra book a month, that just take an extra course every year, and just invest in that, and they rise to the top. I mean, it's just, look at these folks who go out and spend all this money on college education, right? What's a master's degree cost? What's a master's degree cost?
I have no idea.
A master's degree cost. My wife went to Johns Hopkins University. $25,000, and this was 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Whenever she was there, I don't know what it is now. It's probably double that now. But let's say it's $25,000 still. What do you make when? And she was in the education system. Okay, so I get it's different for different industries, but follow the point here. $25,000 investment per bump in pay for getting that was $2,000 a year. $2,000 a year. $2,000 a year. Now, when somebody pays $3,000, $5,000 to go to a boot camp, and they come home and they learn something
where you could go out in 30 days and make 5, 10, 15 grand, like legitimately, not
or 25,000 or 50,000 or whatever. So I mean, there's a disconnect there somewhere.
I think so.
So I'm still in my rant about college.
Okay.
So here's the problem, is that I think it's society, like we've been conditioned to think, oh well, you go to school, get good grades, get a job, right?
Or is it just
you think it's changing?
You don't think
I don't
so?
know,
Or you
man.
think it's just
I mean, look at all these unemployed people out here right now that not only have undergrad, not only have masters, but some of them have doctorate, and they got hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of bills,
but you don't think
and they're sitting here crying that the system's
changing?
Well, perhaps it is. I don't know, but there's a lot of people out there right now
currently.
that's in that situation. I think there's a bubble in education, period, with the pricing and everything like that. And the problem is if you go claim bankruptcy, that stuff doesn't get wiped out. Now, I'm not a bankruptcy attorney, so I can't say for sure, but that's my understanding. And if you don't get rid of that debt, I mean, they got to pay that debt at some point. And like I say, a lot of these people, they come out of college, they can't get a job, so what do they think? They think they need to go get more formal education. And the system reinforces this type of thinking. Well, now we got all these people out there, and I don't know what's going to happen, But what's going to happen when all these people can't pay back all this money? It's a lot of money that needs to be paid back out there. It's a bubble that's going to burst, which I think will be good because I think it will bring down college prices back to, and then we can talk about sending kids back to college for the experience and for whatever they need to learn there, but not tell kids and teach kids that it's good to go to college because that's a golden ticket to win in a capitalist society, because it's not.
Self in debt right out of the gate.
That's right. That too. Yep.
All right. Well, let's see. Before we wrap up here, and we've talked about this a couple of times today, and I know you maybe. And Steve is a very humble guy, by the way. This is kind of off on another tangent.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it.
I know you're not like a flashy guy, and you're not somebody who goes out and whatever. You're just not a flashy guy, but you did treat yourself to something when you got to Florida, which I had the pleasure of riding in since I've been here. What tell everybody what?
So I bought a 2016 Tesla Model S 85D.
Amazing.
Awesome car.
It's like driving around in a spaceship.
It drives itself. It's really cool.
You can put it on, what is it called, autopilot?
Autopilot. It drives itself. Yeah, it's really cool. But I don't know if I told you this. Did I tell you how I paid for it?
You used something creative, right?
Right. So basically, the car was around $100,000 when it's all said and done, taxes. It's like a crazy,
insane.
And I've only driven used like $15,000 cars, up until this point. So for me to go spend $100,000 on a car,
when he told me that I think we were talking on the phone or maybe texting, and you said that you bought it, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
That just doesn't seem like something. That
right.
You
It really
is.
Awesome.
You deserve it though. You work hard for it.
I think it's dangerous to think that you deserve stuff because back in 2005, we had a whole lot of people saying that they deserved the house that they
but
bought.
It's not like you go around like blowing money and
right.
I mean, you live modestly, I think. And,
right.
I think you deserve it. Anyway,
right. Well, thank you, Steph. I appreciate that.
So how did you acquire it?
Okay, so I could have gone and I could have paid cash for it, right? And I'm very much like a debt-free kind of. I very much believe in you really shouldn't take on too much debt and all that stuff. So I didn't necessarily like the idea of financing the car. But here's what happened: is I actually went out and instead of buying the car with cash, I bought a rental property with cash. That's basically I bought the property for about $80,000. It needs 20 and fix up, so it's the same price as the car, right? It's a $100,000 car, $100,000 house that will pay for the car. So I financed $70,000 of the car, and the note on it's a little over $1,200 a month. The rental property will rent out for in between $1,300 and $1,400 a month, right? My insurance on the car is about $100 a month, so my obligation is about the same as the rental property. We'll bring back in, right? So, but hold on a second. Now here's the thing. I still had it's not done. I had to write a check for $28,000. The difference between the 70 and the 100, it's roughly $30,000, right? So it was like 27 and some change, right? Well, the Tesla gets tax credits, both federal and state. Between the federal and state tax credits, yeah, because it's an electric car, right? So I get $10,500 back in tax credits off the top of the 27. So now I'm down at 17. But I bought it with the business, so the business gets to depreciate the car, and I get to deduct the interest, which isn't a whole lot. It's actually less than $1,000 a year on the note, but I get to deduct the interest. So essentially, I now went out and bought this Model S Tesla for $15,000-ish, which is the same amount I would have paid for a used Honda Accord or whatever anyway. And the Accord that I was driving was fully depreciated anyhow, so from a tax perspective, it totally made sense. So that's how you drive a $100,000 Tesla for $15,000.
Nice.
So put that in the show notes. Put that in the show notes.
That's a sweet car, though. I have to tell you guys. I don't even really get into cars.
Me either. But I went and I drove it, and that was the big mistake.
Yeah,
Mike
awesome.
Marino put me up to it. He and I went to go drive Teslas together.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
really?
he and I went together, and it was just like, hey, let's go check it out because at the last Flip Dips thing that I was at,
you talking about
I was like,
it,
yeah,
right?
I want to drive a Tesla for free.
Yeah, I remember
that was my goal, to drive a Tesla for free when I'm down here in Florida. Well, I didn't end up driving it for free, but I ended up driving it for the same price as a car that I would have gone and bought anyway. My accountant told me last year, he said, you're going to need to buy a new car next year because this one's fully depreciated. And so I'm like, okay.
Might as well go for a Tesla.
That's right.
Good for you. That's awesome. Okay, so back, one last thing. I just wanted to... So Steve and I have said this a couple times. We've been in the same mastermind group for the last 7-ish years, something like that. Basically, we have monthly mastermind calls, and then we get together 3 times a year. At the meetings, what we do is each person goes around the circle and talks about what's going on in our business, if we need help with anything, and then kind of what our goals are going forward. And Steve consistently... he comes to the meetings. There are a lot of people, myself included. I'll come to the meetings and say, all right, I want to do this, 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 and this. And then the next meeting comes around and I haven't done it and I have 1,000 excuses for why I have not. Steve, we call him the golden child, golden boy.
That's J.P. Moses came up with that name, I think. That's a J.P. Moses thing.
But he comes to the retreats and he has his notebook and he has, I want to do this, 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 and this by this time. And rarely, I can't really think of something, a retreat where you have come back and said, I didn't accomplish this. So do you have any, I know you just kind of pass this off and you're very humble about it and say, well, I don't know, but how do you go about, setting a goal? Because a lot of people have trouble with this. How do you stay laser focused and how are you able to basically say, I'm going to do this? And a lot of the goal, this goal that you had to come down to Florida for 4 months out of the year and be a snowbird at under 40, that's a lofty goal, whether you think it is or not.
Yeah.
How are you able, do you have any tips for folks, like maybe goal setting or just kind of ways to stay on track?
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and I think it comes down to first and foremost, you have to, first of all, you have to make sure that you're not setting goals that are too small, and more importantly, I think that you need to not place any caps or limits on your belief of what you want to do with your life. First and foremost, regardless of your current situation, you have to just you have to come up with what you want to do, and then just kind of go for it. We were talking earlier about speaking it into your existence. I think I do that. Like I was telling you earlier, like I said, at one point in my life, I'll live in the Caribbean, and whether that's for a season like this or whether that's for a year or permanently, I don't know, But I haven't really, I was going to say I haven't really written it down, but that's not totally true. I think it is in one of my iterations of my vision somewhere. But the bottom line is that, some people would never even think that.
Right.
Because they wouldn't think it's possible for them. You and I both know people whose current circumstances at the time was just, there was no way they would ever get out of it.
Yeah,
and we've seen it just happen.
People, like Christina, who...
I wasn't going to put her name out there, but
but
we're talking about you, Christina.
Hi, Christina. She's another member of our group who, when she came to the group, just like, how in the world are you going to get, she just worked so hard, and the place that she's in right now, it's just hard to believe that she has, and that's through, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to like get off on a tangent, but that's through her just believing and saying, I'm going to do this, and she just went out and did it.
Right, but it took a while for her to get to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what she was saying for the longest time was, it's just not possible.
Right.
It's not possible for me to even think about what I would want because I need to manage my current circumstances.
But when she finally did,
when she made that switch, then it didn't take very long at all.
You could even see it in her that she just said, this is what I want, this is what I'm going to go get, and she went out and got it.
Right.
But so do you have a specific, like, do you get up in the morning and have a list of, look at your vision or look at your goals and have, is there a specific format that you...
Not since I've been in Florida.
Well, you've been on vacation.
Yeah, I've kind of lived life on vacation. That's my tagline, live life on vacation. So don't steal it, that's mine. Snowbirdflipper.com, live life on vacation.
Did you trademark?
I haven't yet, so let's keep that between us. But
we'll have to edit that out.
No, it's cool. What was the question? What were we talking about?
About goal. Do you have any? So no advice. Like, you don't have like a specific. Like, all right, I write the goal down. I don't.
The biggest thing is to do the life and air vision stuff first and foremost.
Which is, can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, basically it's just in all areas of your life: spiritual, health, family, relationships, on and on. But you have to exclude money and you exclude business from it, and all that stuff. So just really in the areas that are important, whether you have money or whether you don't, or whether you're planning on having money or whether you don't, figure out what's important to you and what the idea is, what would your ideal life look like?
Life to look? And this all comes from Steve Cook.
That's right, Steve Cook,
Sean McCloskey and their Life and Air program, which is amazing. And
That's right.
Can't say enough wonderful
it's
things
changed
about them.
Countless lives, and we've watched it happen. We both,
really,
you and I, have watched it happen.
Seen it happen.
Yep.
But instead of planning your business, instead of planning your life around your business, plan your business around your life.
That's right.
So I'm answering my own question. But
yeah, no, that's exactly what it is. And then you write that stuff down, and you either carry it with you in your wallet, you put it on your iPad or Evernote or whatever, and you just look at it every single day. And when you do that, when you're in the zone and you look at that every single day, you can't help but to morph into that person.
Yeah, well, and things kind of fall into place.
Things fall into place.
So focused on
That's
something,
right.
and you just say, "I'm going to do this."
That's right.
When you have that mindset, and Christina and I talk a lot about this, that when you finally, you just make a commitment, like this is going to happen.
Yep.
The universe just kind of, I don't know how to describe it, but things just kind of fall into place.
That's right.
But if you're wishy-washy about it and half-assed, if you will, about it.
You can't sit there and say, like, oh, I need $1 million. Oh, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, that's BS,
Yeah. You've worked very hard you've worked your butt off to get down, to be able to come down here and stay for 4 months.
I've worked harder than I would like to admit, and I don't want to say I'm ashamed of how hard I work, because there's something like inside of me that just has to work hard at times. But yeah, I've worked pretty hard, but it's been just strategic, setting things up so that we could come here and do this, So here comes KK. Kaylin, you want to come say hi to everybody? You say hi.
This is Kaylin. Kaylin, are you ready to go back, or you want to stay down here for a while? Go back. You miss your friends? Yeah. Have you had fun, though, since you've been in Florida?
Yeah.
You have? Yeah, I bet. It's not a bad pool you have over there.
Thank you, baby. See you in a bit.
All right, well, I guess we've talked a lot here, huh?
Yeah, we have. It's been a very nice discussion. It's been great to see you again.
Great to see you, too. Thanks for having me. So what's next for you? When you get back, you're going to...
that was one of the things that came down here. And it was funny. That was my goal for coming down here, was to figure out what my next goals are,
right.
I said, man, I've worked my butt off for like the past 11, 12 years. I want to figure out what the next 11, 12 years are. And to me, like, in some ways, this was feeling like, or maybe it still feels like, I haven't thought much about it lately, like the middle, like a transition, and you've heard like what got you here won't get you there type of thing. So I've been kind of trying to think, well, what is going to get me there, and what is there and what's going to get me there. So I came down like the first week, I grabbed my journal, I ran out to the beach, and I was sitting there by myself, and I was like, damn it, I can't come up with what the next goal is. Like I can't figure it out. I don't know what it's going to be, And so I got on a mastermind call. I don't know if you were on that call or not. Okay, so I got on this mastermind call with Steve and everybody else, and I was like, here's the deal, guys. It's January. I just got down here, and I'm having trouble kind of figuring out what's the next thing, what's it going to be, And they immediately told me, come here, here's Finn.
Hey, Finn,
say hi, buddy. Say hi, man. This is Finley. He's having fun here in Florida, right, buddy? So I came down here, and I was sitting on the beach with my journal, and I'm like, I wrote 2016, real big at the top. I'm like, okay, I'm going to plan out my year. It's like the second week in January, first week in January. I'm at the beach. I'm inspired, and blank. I mean, just nothing. I couldn't come up with anything. So I got on the mastermind call, and I'm like, guys, I can't come up with what's next. And they were like, Steve, how long have you worked? How hard have you worked to be able to come down here and just relax? Go down there and just relax. Put the journal away, chill out,
awesome.
Yeah. And so, that's what I've done. I've eaten way more than I should have, and all that stuff.
What did we eat yesterday?
What do we have? Well,
Three
actually, we had good lunch though. We had healthy lunch.
The lunch was delicious.
Christopher's Kitchen, Palm Beach
Oh my
Gardens.
God. So good.
Best food ever.
Yeah.
And then for dinner we kind of let loose, but had a few desserts and ordered way more than we should have. But anyway, the bottom line is I don't know what's next. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I don't know what's next. I'll figure it out when I get back. I mean, I've got a great team to work with at home. I'm really excited to go back down and string a couple really good years together, and see if I can kind of hit those goals like I was talking about earlier, the financial goals. But I want to go back. I want to start working out again. I want to do a lot more yoga than I've been doing. I want to play a lot more guitar than I've been playing. I want to get involved in some of the life stuff that I've just been sitting on the beach, and at the pool, So I want to get back into kind of just doing some of that stuff. I'm looking forward to getting back into a routine and just regularly doing the same thing over and over again, and then it'll be time for another vacation.
Awesome. Well, Steve, it has been a pleasure. Guys, hope we didn't ramble too much, but I think we got some.
This
we
is
actually
fun.
Recorded this
is good.
The first time,
and
it
it
ended
sucked.
up, it was horrible.
Yeah.
It ended up being, 13 minutes long?
Yeah, it was terrible.
And it was just awful.
But that's how this thing goes.
Yeah, we ended it and we were like, that kind of sucked. Maybe we should do it again. So anyway, hope you guys got some good information from this. Thanks all for watching. And Steve, thank you very much for having me here at your beautiful estate.
Absolutely.
And it's been a pleasure. We'll see you guys next time. All right.
Thank you.
Bye.